It's 5, and we're live. Welcome to Frankly Speaking, where truth is our mission, really our realm. Said as we see it, and frankly as well. I'm Joe Spina, along with the three sages. Welcome back, Malcolm.
Thank you.
And special guest host, Bill Newell. Billy, you had a busy schedule this weekend, huh? He's our sports guy, folks.
Oh, yeah. Last weekend, you mean? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we had...
last weekend?
Yeah, well, last weekend we had English and classical, and I have some bad news, but I think people already know it, but both lost kind of convincingly last week. But this week's another week. We'll see what happens. Classical's going down to Revere. Lynn English, I'm blanking out now in Lynn English, but I should know that. But they'll be back, and we'll see how that goes. But I want to just share one thing, one really good positive story in local sports. The Lynn English boys soccer team is 7-0-1. They only had 4 wins all last year, but Coach King has done a great job. And Kerry King, you know him well. Mm-hmm. But, and I've known him for years as well. He's a great guy.
Sweetheart.
And I met some of his players today. We just put a post up on our website, msonewsports.com. And the kids are fantastic as well. So it's just a great story.
Do you announce the soccer games?
No, we don't.
Just football?
Soccer, but we do features. So in other words, on our website will be an interview with Coach King and also a couple of videos with 7 players.
That's great. So 7-0-1. That's an impressive record after we had 4 wins last year.
They have a big game against Peabody at Manning Field on Friday at 4 o'clock.
So you folks out there, get yourself to Manning Field, right, at 4 o'clock.
Be there.
Yeah.
Be there.
The other thing I noted, I've been at Tech a lot, and Tech has a pretty good football team, huh?
Yes, yeah. Coach Runner, James Runner, does a really nice job there. Absolutely, yeah.
I happen to have the quarterback in class, and he was a nice kid. And, let me tell you, it's amazing how sports give discipline to kids. They're focused. Have you ever noticed that? Maybe more kids should be involved in the sports programs. It's a good thing for them.
Yeah. I would say it's essential for a high school kid to be in some kind of sports or some activity, a group activity, for later on in life to succeed.
Yeah.
I mean, I told you the story about my daughter. She wasn't really a great soccer player, but she wound up being a Harry Aganis all-star goalie. And she's done very, very well for herself in life. But she got that confidence by scholastic sports.
You mentioned that last week, and maybe next week again.
Maybe I'll mention it again.
So in other words, what you're saying is by a guy kicking a ball into her face all day long,
That's right.
she was able to gain confidence. All right. Okay.
Frankly, Joe, words have a way of destroying perfectly decent human beings. The choice of adjectives and the manner in which writers, journalists, and reporters context a story, a news piece, or a report can do havoc on the truth. Take, for example, these couple of sentences. Quote, Trump repeatedly urged Ukrainian President, I'm going to try it, Volodymyr, does that sound about right?
Volodymyr.
It's close.
Vladimir.
Zelensky, would it be?
Yes.
To work with U.S. Attorney General William Barr and Rudy Giuliani, Trump's personal lawyer. At one point in the conversation, Trump said, I would like you to do us a favor. It reads like a script from The Godfather. 781-780-9460. What do you think there, Malcolm?
For one, with this probe into this telephone conversation, when has it become a problem for the President of the United States to pick up the telephone and talk to the head of another nation?
I want to ask a simple question to all of you. Do any of you think that Donald Trump is dumb?
No.
He can be dumb like a fox.
Is he dumb, though?
No.
So if you're making a phone call to anybody, and you're the President of the United States, how many people around you are listening to what you're saying?
I'm sure he has it recorded.
Huh? How many?
Well, yeah, that's only a part of
Yeah,
it.
but
But the
Richard
thing of
Nixon.
it is, the Democratic Party must have had a meeting and say, look, we're never going to beat this SOB.
Of course.
We have to do everything humanly possible to try and disgrace them, to come up with something so that the people in and of themselves will say, well, we can't do Trump anymore. And they can't do it.
The question
Joe,
I'm
Joe,
asking-
I heard that somebody on the news that maybe 10 people might have been listening to that call as it was happening. So that...
well, here's the way it goes.
You know what I mean?
There
basically
is
for
no
verification
audio.
of what was said.
Taking notes.
There is no audio transcript ever from any president
no.
at any time.
They're from notes.
None.
Notes. Right.
There's none.
Oh, that was
When
after
someone
Richard Nixon.
sits, there's a group of individuals who are assigned, most from Intel. CIA agents who are assigned to all presidents, and there's like a dozen of them that listen to the conversation and take notes. At the end of the session, they sit down and they correlate the notes and they put it up, and it becomes a collection of what they're agreed upon, what they said, right? That becomes a transcript. My point being, Trump knowing that isn't about to say anything that's going to cause him a problem.
But he didn't say anything that caused a problem.
I know he didn't.
He might have done it
Democrats
deliberately to
think he
bring
did.
out the Biden thing. How else would he bring out the thing about Biden and his son? He might have done that to bring out, knowing that it's being transcribed and it's going to get out. He might want to get that thing out about Biden and Biden's son getting that phony job.
No, that wasn't the context, Ralph. The context was about a group that had interfered in the 2016 election on behalf of Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Right? A Ukrainian. And the Biden was a spin-off. He was talking about 2016. He was talking past tense. Events that took place in the past prior to his presidency, prior to his candidacy for the president. Okay? That was the context. Do me a favor had nothing to do with do me a favor in the sense of Don Corleone. It was, you know, it would be a nice thing if you took a...
By next week, it's going to be gone.
Yes. Yes, probably.
That's because Congress is
So,
going on a 2-week
But let's get
vacation.
to a little clip of what Nancy Pelosi had to say about this.
That's another brain-dead politician.
Actions taken to date by the president have seriously violated the Constitution, especially when the president says, Article 2 says I can do whatever I want. For the past several months, we have been investigating in our committees and litigating in the courts, so the House can gather all the relevant facts and consider whether to exercise its full Article 1 powers, including a constitutional power of the utmost gravity, approval of articles of impeachment. And this week, the president has admitted to asking the president of Ukraine to take actions which would benefit him politically. The actions of the Trump presidency revealed the dishonorable fact of the president's betrayal of his oath of office, betrayal of our national security, and betrayal of the integrity of our elections. Therefore, today, I'm announcing the House of Representatives moving forward with an official impeachment inquiry. I'm directing our 6 committees to proceed with their investigations under that umbrella of impeachment inquiry. The president must be held accountable. No one is above the law.
I love that line. No one's above
She
the law.
also made that statement before she even read the transcripts.
That's right. By the way, that's the first time I saw a Democrat with a flag on their lip.
Yeah.
What's going to happen is how are they going to backtrack from all this when it goes to nothing?
But every time something, some minor thing happens that is not a crime. Now, no one really, anyone that knows anything knows that this, what he did was not a crime, and they're going to impeach him on this. If you try to
don't
impeach,
have to impeach on a crime.
well, I think you do. I really do.
No, it's high crimes and misdemeanors.
You can impeach on, like they say.
A misdemeanor is a crime.
It's not illegal. It's a political.
Yeah, they can set the standard. That's a little
It's
adjustable.
an
But
open
then
standard.
we become a parliamentary system.
Regardless of what the consequences are,
But
I'm
that's
telling
right.
you what the
Yeah.
factually,
Right.
you don't have to commit a
Well,
crime to be impeached.
do you want what's going on in England? Do you know what's going on? Did you
I
see the
don't care what's
Parliament
going on.
yesterday?
I care what's going on in the United States
Well-
of America. I care that this country is in deep trouble because of this type of ridiculousness. That we should be doing stuff about what? Healthcare, maybe. We should be
Right,
doing something
that's true.
about maybe
But
the city of Lynn's budget.
if you would
getting
expand
squashed
yourself
with-
a little bit, and
What was
get a
that?
little- if you would expand your mind a little bit and go international, and you would watch the Parliament like I did, the
Yeah.
English Parliament, completely out of control. Johnson has lost control of the government. He's like
But, Ralph,
conservatives
the
have
English
left the
Parliament
government.
has
question
always
is this.
been out of control.
The question is this: if you're telling me that there is there's an ideological struggle going on in the globe, in the world,
Right.
globally.
Yes.
We all know that.
Yes.
It's called globalist versus nationalist. Yes,
Who the hell cares?
that's right.
Because it affects the world. It
No, it
affects us.
doesn't.
The world
No, it
affects
doesn't.
us. Oh, yes,
it only
does.
affects if Johnson's going to have a job next week, okay? And I'm not worried about him.
It
And in
affects
this
our
country,
economy.
there are
English
more
Parliament
jobs
is nothing but a
openings
yelling
than there are
match.
people to fill them.
Please. Please.
Took a beating here.
Any country that will support a royal family that doesn't do a day's work in the whole entire ridiculous life deserves what they get.
By the way, they're probably one of the richest groups in the world, by the way. They got more money than God, don't they?
Oh,
And they all made it from opium.
astronomical wealth beyond your wildest imagination.
They own half
Only
of
beaten
London.
out by one group, and that's the church. The Catholic Church has them beaten.
No, I think the Rothschilds are right up there. Don't you try to exclude your tribe.
Please, I beg your pardon, young man.
You know how does the royal family make all their money? Do you know?
From nothing.
No, because they own property and they collect rents.
And
Yes,
only
that's how they
that, but
make
you
their money.
cannot buy any property for the rest of your life within this X amount of miles in London because it all goes back to them.
Right, absolutely.
Wait a minute, folks.
It's called,
We gotta
it's
keep
called
moving.
freeholder
Okay,
run
This is
freehold.
Slow it
important.
down. The
People
Catholic
want to
Church
know
is doing
about the
fine and
English
well.
government in the city.
Yeah, really?
They do.
Who does?
The
Nobody
poll.
does.
The poll. Get it up there. The item headline, Moulton praises Pelosi's decision to start impeachment proceedings against Trump. It's the right direction, and it's about time, Moulton told the item. Is Pelosi's decision to start impeachment proceedings against Trump the right decision? We have two poll questions this week. Is Pelosi's decision to start impeachment proceedings against Trump the right thing? You notice how they're lovey-dovey now? Isn't that something, Billy? I mean,
Yeah, well, I
It
guess
cost
Seth not going
$50
to be
million
president. So.
for the Mueller report. This is going to cost $100 million to take care of this business. Okay?
Meanwhile,
right down the
Seth
toilet.
is looking for someone to back his campaign when he
I
went
think
for
Bolton's
re-election.
afraid that he's in trouble.
He
That's
is
what I
in
think.
trouble.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so, yeah.
all of a sudden he's kissing up to Pelosi?
Yeah,
Because
he
he's
loves
looking for
Pelosi now.
supporters.
Billy,
Yeah.
you called this one, didn't you?
No, I don't think I did. Why?
Yeah?
Call
Yeah, I
which
think
one?
you did, yeah.
About he having to change his feathers in order to be able to move forward, that he might be, as they pointed out, in trouble? Because you can bet your life that Pelosi wasn't going to help him one bit.
No, yeah, I don't. And he is being challenged. I don't know where that stands, but
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be seriously be challenged. But
I think you're going to see Tierney back in it.
You,
Well,
you
he-
think? You think?
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's
If
going
if
back
he comes
into it.
back, he's
Yeah,
going to win this time.
He's going to clean his clock
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah.
Are you folks aware that there's a U.S. Census about to take place in 2020, right? Happens what, every 10 years? Is that right, Ralph?
Yep.
Every 10 years is census, the next one's next year.
What's the critical thing about the census? Why is it so important?
It's very important because the money that we, like people in Lynn, the city of Lynn gets a certain amount of money depending upon how many people they have. So the census is important. The more people you have, the more money you get from the federal
So
government.
it has to be accurate, correct?
It has to be accurate, right?
Now, let me ask this. What, should we count everybody or just citizens? Or how do we make a count of who the population is?
Well,
Does anybody know?
actually, I think the Constitution actually says we count everybody, whether they're citizens or not. I believe that's what the Constitution
Wasn't there an
says.
argument about the fact that Virginia said, wait a second, we want to count our slaves, and Massachusetts, hey, you can't do that. Oh, no, you're not going to count your slaves. And so the compromise was, okay, we'll count them as 3/5 for a human being. Is that accurate?
That sounds fair.
Yeah. And that's the way it was. So the point being is that who do you count? Now, an accurate count, as you point out, gets you more money.
Right.
So if we can put up important, you risk underfunding if you don't do the census properly. Agreed?
Right.
So total federal share, I'll call it revenue sharing, a Richard Nixon term, by the way. He's the guy that came up with it. A good, solid Democrat. In any case, total revenue sharing is approaching $1 trillion. And that's, they spread it. It's like a big pie, and you spread it out. According to Eva Malona, who's the executive director of the Massachusetts Immigration and Refugee Coalition, each person not counted is equivalent to $2,400
Right.
in lost revenue. 10 people, 24 grand. Oh, not good. Additionally, she claims that there are potentially 1.5 million immigrants and refugees living in Massachusetts, and the census begins in April 20th. April of 2020.
Right.
Now, I want us to analyze this.
Right. There was a big argument in Congress whether or not on the census form they should ask whether somebody has citizen status
that.
or not.
Yeah.
A huge argument. Okay.
Yes, but the Supreme Court said you can't.
You can't.
So it's over.
It's over. But I always say, if you look at, do you fill out your city census every year and send it back into City Hall or bring it to City Hall?
Yeah, I
do you
do.
do it? And what's one of the questions on that? Do you remember, Mr. Spina? Do you
No.
remember?
What I'm
They
interested.
ask you whether you're a citizen or not.
Yeah, I know that.
Oh, no, you don't.
Yes, I
But
do.
You don't remember that.
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I do. But that's not. But this is federal. You're talking about
I
a
understand.
Lynn census.
So if they ask it in Lynn on
Yeah.
this census, why can't you ask it in the federal
we have
government?
this thing called a federalist system. I don't know if
I
you're aware of
understand.
that.
No,
you
I'm
know,
not.
and
No, I-
we have like the federal government, and we have the state government, and we have the local government. So each one has powers within
I'm
itself.
only into English government, so.
So what I'm trying to point out to you, and what I'm interested in, and Malcolm, I'm going to go to Malcolm now, if you don't mind. Eva says that 2,400 is lost. But if you want to attract people in, and they send their kids to the school system, aren't you losing money?
Technically, you are losing
I mean, you get
money.
2,400, but you're laying out 15 grand, aren't
Right.
you?
Right.
Per kid? That makes sense. Wait a minute, you went to business school.
You made a statement, and you passed by very fast. You said there's 200 extra students.
We're going to get into that, by the way. That's
Oh,
coming along
okay.
at English High School.
Well, you see, I told you this 8 months ago. If the mayor and the powers that be of this city had any common sense, I would tell all the teachers to go home, and I would shut down the schools permanently. And I would tell the government we cannot open our schools until we are able to take care of what we have, legitimately speaking. Other than that, don't bother us. And I can assure you, within 2 months' time, within 2 weeks, things would be straightened out here.
There's no possibility of that ever
No,
happening.
no,
You
there'll be
understand?
there'll be federal marshals coming up and
So
putting
let
you in jail.
them come.
The troops are on their way, folks, if they listen to Malcolm. I'm
Wait,
not Malcolm.
whoa.
So, sorry, Malcolm.
No,
Problem.
Ralph, call me Ralph.
Because I'm too confused now.
he's getting confused.
I'm a senior citizen. I'm having a
That's
senior
because
I
of
moment.
should
the
have not
age.
brought up
So,
the English Parliament.
The
I'm sorry.
point that I'm trying to make quickly, folks, by the way, I never hear 781, bail us out, 781-780-9460. So you get 2,400 if you increase your population, that's the incentive, right? But nobody tells you that you could be losing money because if you bring in a family of 6, 4 of them are going to school at 15,000 a clip, right? So you're picking up whatever, but you're actually it's a lost leader, isn't it?
You're losing about $12,000 per kid.
Yeah.
Right.
So should we incentivize people to come into the city of Lynn? That's my point.
But actually, are we losing that? Are we really
Yeah.
losing that money? Because actually, you don't really lose that money. It's an accounting function. We don't really. The money doesn't come out because a student comes in today. Somebody come into English today starts. No money goes out. Actually, he goes. They put a chair for him somewhere, and if you amortize off all the costs, it's the same really.
According to Eva,
Eva will.
each individual that is not counted
Right.
costs the city in revenue sharing dollars from the federal government
Right.
2,400.
Right.
You agree to that?
Right. I understand. Right. I understand that.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the cost factor of the 15,000. That's not true. It's not
The
really true.
15,000 is what it costs to educate a student in the
Yeah.
city of Lynn.
But if a new student comes in, it doesn't cost the city $15,000.
Yes, it does.
Not
Well,
really.
what's it cost them? 10 cents? What
No, because you have to amortize it off over all the students. Okay.
are you talking about?
You're getting that figure by taking the total budget and dividing by the number of students.
But you have to pay that 15,000. They have to spend that $15,000 per student, but a lot of it will be coming from the state. So it's not 15,000 per student.
Why?
out
It's
of the Lynn
15,000.
budget.
I don't care if the money comes from Jupiter.
No, I know.
The point of the matter is, it costs 15,000 big ones to educate a person in the city of Lynn, no
Per
matter
year.
how you cut it.
For 1 year.
Per person per year.
For 1 year.
That's the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the average per pupil cost is 15,600 per student, right? Whether it comes from the federal government or the taxpayers or the state is
Well,
irrelevant.
it all comes from the taxpayers.
That's the
But-
least of it.
but-
If 200 more students go into a school that's only so big, only houses so many people, where do they put the other 200?
That's the question.
Right.
That's the big
They've already
question that the school
expanded.
committee
But it
tried to
doesn't
answer the other
technically
day.
cost the system more money, Joe. It doesn't cost them more money.
What was that?
It doesn't cost them more money. They just spread. They put the students, like Avram said, they get more chairs for them. But it doesn't technically cost the city. The budget's already set. They're not spending any
Yes,
more
but
money.
then you have the
but what you
teachers'
don't seem to
union.
understand, Ralph, is the budget may be set, but
Right.
the budget was set to have X amount of students.
Right.
If there's an excess, that's an excess cost to the school department, which impacts the budget negatively
Right.
of the city.
Where would they get the money? Where would that money come from, budget-wise?
We go into deficit, Ralph. Did you ever understand
Yeah,
that?
that's why we're, that's why
what
the
the
city
problem
is in
is.
the hole.
Where is the budget, by the way? Whatever happened to the budget?
It was supposed to be balanced.
It's top secret.
Oh, okay.
All right, let me try this one more, folks.
I'm very
Ralph
slow
is
today.
having a senior moment. He hasn't been down to, what do you go to, Sullivan's? to have a cup of
Sullivan's,
coffee?
I think you're a little unfair on Ralph here. I think,
But
you know,
I mean,
like-
how hard is it
Taking
to
a beating here.
understand that if you have extra student, it's an extra cost?
But, okay, fine, let's not, the thing of it is, if a building holds 1,000 people, and all of a sudden,
Right.
next September, there's 1,200 people there, and a
Right.
building that only holds 1,000,
Right.
what do you do with those extra 200?
Call in the fire marshal
No,
and
no,
shut
no,
the
no,
building
seriously.
down.
That might be a real cost because you'd have to get trailers to put them into or rent out
They're
space at
thinking
the
of renting
Y.
Shaw's supermarket to shut down, right?
That would cost a fortune.
And I said to you, the same thing that Governor Wallace did, may he rest in peace, at the University of Alabama, they can't come in. Well, I'm telling you right now, I would stand in front of the school and say, they can't come in. Let them send federal
can't-
Like
marshals.
Yeah,
Wallace,
that's
Yes, you
crazy.
can.
you'd have a bayonet in front of your
Oh,
nose. and
baloney,
just-
Shut up.
baloney.
Now, folks, to our second question in between Ralph's education, which is very difficult. Our second poll question happens to be on the census, and the question becomes, should undocumented immigrants be counted in the 2020 census? 781-780-9460. Should undocumented immigrants be counted in the 2020 census? Now, that's an interesting point. What do you think, Billy?
Well, I mean, I think they should be counted.
Yeah?
You know, I guess it's a debate whether they are counted as, you know, as undocumented or as citizens.
Whatever.
you know,
They're
citizens.
counted as people.
But
Yeah.
they should be counted.
Right.
They should be
If
counted.
they're counted, that means that you increase your population. That means that we could have more representatives going to Congress. That's what's all, it was all worked out accordingly, right? That was the compromise. Folks, we have bicameral government, which means two houses, right? A Senate and the House of Representatives. Now, the House of Representatives, the reason why the money's generated there is it's in proportion to the amount of money you send to the federal government. The more people you have, obviously, the more taxes you're sending down to Washington, D.C.
Yeah, and-
Everybody agree to that?
Right. We've lost reps, by the way. We've lost one rep a
Right.
few years ago. Yeah.
We may lose another one.
We should lose more.
Because what's happening is the people are leaving our state and going to better places like Florida, okay?
right.
So what's happened
Because we have
is
an
that
aging
Florida, in
population.
my lifetime, has picked up a tremendous amount of representatives. And Massachusetts, when I was your age, Ralph, we had 16. We're down to 10 now. Is that correct? And we'll probably lose a couple more. So that's the way it's going. We need a count in order to maintain what we have.
Well, okay, fine, but let me ask you, never mind them. Do you think they should be counted, you yourself personally?
I'm dubious. I mean, I understand it from a practical perspective. It's in the best interest of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and that everybody's
And the
I don't
counted.
federal
think it-
Constitution
I don't
says
think
they
it's in
have to be,
anybody's
they
best
have to be
interest.
counted, I'm pretty
Well,
sure.
it is.
Whose best interest?
Should've
The
brought
way
it up.
the West is put together now, you want the federal dollars.
Yeah.
You know, you're competing against everybody else for the same.
I happened to be riding in someone's car and he had on the
Well, I'll
news
tell you,
station.
California.
WB.
I mean,
Yeah.
what's disgraceful is that California has 52 reps right now, doesn't it?
Well, yeah.
In the 50s, anyway. And that state is a basket case.
No kidding.
And if we emulate California, it used to be a pride that California wave is moving our way.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
It's
You
an
don't want
embarrassment.
that. It is an embarrassment. And the point is that I believe they're going to be losing population. So in the sense that if they weren't able to count the undocumented, they would lose a whole bunch of reps. It would be to the benefit
I
of...
think they should definitely count the undocumented illegals, but also have it on that questionnaire.
Did you know?
How many are
So you're saying that the
U.S. citizens?
So you're
Right.
talking about
But
representation.
people won't tell you the truth.
Yeah.
You're saying
Well, they have to
representation.
prove it.
Wait a minute. You're saying that representation should be predicated on whether they should count citizens for representation, but everybody for population purposes. Is that what you're saying? like a bicameral census?
The Massachusetts State House of Representatives, as we speak now, is debating upon whether people who are not citizens should be allowed a driver's license. And what shocked me, because I was riding in the car and they had on the station WBUR, which I would never listen to because I don't listen to that station.
Didn't we bring that up last week?
But they're actually going to do it.
I know that.
I can't believe that.
Because
Why
they're
can't you
idiots.
believe it?
Because that's crazy.
It's his buddy's the guy that sponsored
Yeah.
it.
Creighton, my buddy Creighton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the guy that
That's,
sponsored
that's the
it.
most stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Folks, is he right? Is the most stupid thing you ever heard or he ever heard the fact that Massachusetts is giving undocumented people a license? Is it? 781-780-9464?
They can give them a license, but let them go through driver's training, let them take a test, let them take a road test, a written test, everything else. They're not going to do that. They're just going to hand out these licenses
I don't think
And,
to the
and
illegals like chicklets.
it should say on the license, undocumented. Illegal. Okay?
Yep.
Like they made the Jews
I
wear the
told-
Star of David
I
during
told
World War
you
II. Put it on their
I
driver's
told
license.
you the
okay?
license I
What's so
found
funny? It's
a
not
month
funny.
ago
No.
down the beach had that star on it. It's the real ID, and it had the address of the man
See,
on
this,
it.
this is another one of your repeat stories.
It's a very important. But no one see. It
This is
doesn't
the one that went
resonate.
to the,
It doesn't resonate at all. He had a phony address
I
on
know
it.
that.
That's
And it happened to
unbelievable.
be the welfare office.
Just to see
We've
if
been
the
told
same
you.
thing is happening.
That's a repeat.
Just to say this is happening to me. Did you say your daughter played soccer?
No.
Okay, all right.
I'm impressed you're remembering last week's show, Joe. That's pretty good.
What?
Yeah, no, I'm just impressed you're remembering
he
all
remembers
everything you
everything.
said.
I
do
Right.
too.
Everything I say, yeah. He
Round trip to
transcribes it.
Boston,
take a
folks. In
medication.
case you didn't know it, if you want to take the choo-choo to Boston, it doesn't do choo-choo anymore.
Right.
It's going to cost you $14 per day for a round trip
Right.
from Central Square.
Right.
So McGee and Lynn's legislation delegation requested that the MBTA increase rail service from Lynn to Boston at more affordable subway rates. Okay, so I got to thinking about this. Now, let me throw my thoughts out. Folks, would you please help me out here? $14 a day is about $3,500 a year.
Is $60 a week.
$70 a week.
5 days a week.
5 times 14 is 70 in my math.
Yeah, you're
And
right.
you went, and you went to Harvard Business School.
Jesus, no, yeah, sorry.
Harvard Business School, folks, you see?
Get me out
Telling
of
you,
this, Ralph.
you can't work on
So
it.
here's the point. In real
You know it's
terms,
pain, don't you?
if you're going to Boston, for yearly it's
Right,
$3,500. If you're going to Boston and you have a pretty decent job at Boston, that's very reasonable fare.
For us, though, it's only half. For 65 and over, it's only half.
That's a great point, Ralph.
Because I'm going tomorrow. I'm taking the 604 out of here tomorrow.
So you're going for $7?
I'm going for $7
Round trip.
Round trip.
Right. But it's 14 if you're under 65.
But if you're working, Ralph,
Yeah.
in Boston, which you're being higher paid, that's really reasonable. Because if you take your automobile, the wear and tear, parking, this, that, and the rest of it is far more expensive.
Just the parking is phenomenal in price.
What do you think?
It still seems steep to me. It seems like, that...
14 a day?
Yeah, I mean, it seems
That's a
to
lot
me.
of money.
It seems to me that it should be a little bit less. I mean, you want to get, you want people to take the train that might be taking the bus or something like that, or doing, because you have the bus routes too that go
Yeah.
down into Boston and different things. So
you don't want to take the bus. You want to take if you want to go
Yeah, I
to
mean-
Boston, take the commuter rail. Believe me, it's a lot faster. It's
No,
more
that's
expensive.
why I
It's so
agree.
much faster.
It's
But,
so much faster.
I think there's some kind of compromise there. That,
It's only 25 minutes from here into North Station.
by
It's
train.
unbelievable.
Wow.
and more service would be a key. I think it's a good
let's
idea.
get to this. And you've got a point there, because now I'm going to give your buddy a bouquet.
Okay.
Ready? Pitching a pilot program, if we can put that up there. And he calls it Near Rapid Transit Service. That's coined phrase by Senator Creighton, and I think it's a legitimate one. So Mayor McGee urges policymakers to think outside of the box, which is a novel idea, think outside the box. It's somewhat difficult
Something that
for
a lot
folks to do.
of people have been doing for years.
And he says, why not use the existing infrastructure, innovate to create a system that works? And he said these 4 things. Increase rail service, you talked about that, Billy, makes sense. 2, adjusting fares that are more in line with affordability, which he cannot add.
Multiply,
I'm sorry.
excuse me, okay? There's a
mention.
difference between adding and multiplying, okay? Thank you.
Well, one's a short form.
Yeah, exactly.
Multiplication is a short form of adding. Making stops at Central Square and the Riverworks, that's an increase. That's
Yeah,
a
but
double
it
stop.
already stops in Chelsea. It already stops there.
Well, he's going to add stops in Chelsea, Revere, Everett, And so there's connections to the Silver Line. My question is, with all those stops, wouldn't that really slow down the service?
Of course.
Right, but first of all, it doesn't go through Everett. Where could you stop in Everett? It's all marshland in Revere. I don't know how you could stop in Revere, and there's already a stop in Chelsea. So I don't think he ever rides a train, because I know that, because I ride the train.
Well, Ralph, I'm not the guy who came up with pitching the pilot program. I'm
Thing is,
describing the pilot program.
years ago,
They should
they
ask
used,
me.
they
I've
used to
got
have
the
the
plan.
service bus line. My brother was a driver for the service bus line from Central Square to Boston, and it had offshoots to Everett, Revere, Chelsea,
Right.
and so forth.
They used to have the crosstown bus, remember? You used to be able to get on Central Square, get on a bus, and go all the way into Boston. You can't do that. They've taken all that away.
So let's talk about the existing infrastructure and to innovate. So because they don't have those stops, doesn't mean they can't make them.
No, they could make the stops.
That's what he's talking about.
Right.
That's called innovation.
So if each has to take 25 minutes, that's going to take the whole thing up to about an hour and a half.
That's the point. I'm talking about a good idea, and then you have to read the label. And when you read the label and you say, wait a second, from one stop in Lynn, we're going to have another stop. That takes time. Riverworks, right?
Yep.
Then you're going to stop at Chelsea or Revere and Chelsea, and then Everett.
Well,
I mean,
I could
So
see them
what you
eliminating
just
the
said is
Riverworks
read
stop.
the
There's
ingredients
not many
and put it
workers
back
there
on the
anymore.
shelf.
Probably right.
Parking
Thank
it up,
you.
Yeah,
parking it
probably,
up.
and that's what I'm saying to these folks is this: if there is a idea, and it sounds like a good idea, then read the label.
They need more trains. So like if you use the train on Sunday, there's a 2-hour gap coming back. There are 2-hour gaps coming back from Boston to Lynn. 2-hour gaps.
Very nice. That's a long
But
time.
isn't
That's
it
not
going to
good.
cost
No.
what?
Two
What was
hour.
that?
That's not good. It's a 2-hour gap. I said.
On Sunday, the train
Sunday.
runs every 2 hours.
Every 2 hours and back.
Well, why shouldn't that be? What's wrong with that? Shouldn't people be home with
Well,
their
the
families?
people. Well, some people have to work in Boston.
Some.
Some. Okay.
Yeah, so they
Right.
can schedule to make sure.
People
this-
like to shop in Boston. Go to the Prudential Center.
Oh, yeah,
Nice
then-
place to
then
shop.
wait.
You know.
I mean, you can't have it all. You can't have all these freebies all over the place there, Ralphie. That's a bad thing.
I pay.
Lynn English High School, overcrowded. This became an issue, Billy, they had a forum.
When did they have the forum?
Monday night, they had a forum.
This past week.
No, this past Monday, they had a forum
Okay.
at the Hibernian Hall. You've been happy there. In which it was members only, which we'll put up in a little while, meaning that you could only be a Democrat. Because if you weren't a Democrat, you weren't invited to the forum. And 16 people who showed up means that we have too many Democrats
Right.
on the city council, on the school committee, because only Staubach,
Staubach
there it
is
is
the only
there.
one.
See? Ward 5 candidate, Marvin, said he isn't happy. He wasn't invited.
He left the party. He left the Democratic Party.
Yeah, he became an independent.
I just talked to him last week, as a matter of fact, and I think he's got some ideas for upgrading the Ward 5 infrastructure as far as retail stores and things like that. He's got some good ideas, but he was really ticked
He
off.
wasn't able
about
to express them, Ralph,
He
because
can't.
you know why?
Why?
He wasn't invited.
Right.
You had to be a Democrat.
Well,
And-
he was a Democrat.
But he isn't any longer.
No, not
And
any
so
longer.
therefore got disinvited. And the point being is that the only folks there that were yicky-yakking about the school committee were all Democrats.
And how many people were there, actually?
I didn't count them. I wasn't invited because I happen to be a Republican.
10 people, 15, 20 people?
Do you know,
Whatever.
Do you know your friend Moulton, your big pal Moulton that you love so much? He had a town meeting in Linfield. You know how many people showed up?
How many?
12.
Hey, can I
I
say
think
one
that's a
thing?
little high. I
That's
thought it was
12
less
too
than that.
many.
I thought it was 8 or something.
Was it 8?
It's in
Oh,
the
I'm
item.
sorry.
But no, it's 12 or 8 or 12.
12 to 8?
8 to 12
8 to
people,
12
yeah.
people
yeah.
showed up.
I could
It's a
do
nice
more doing
afternoon,
flips. So, English High School, a school which I'm very much familiar with, and frankly does a really decent job given what they have to, what they're told to do. The principal, strangely, works hard at it. You mentioned that their soccer team, Kerry Kelly is
King, yeah.
Yeah, King rather.
Do they have a school cafeteria there?
They
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
And you eat in the school?
Yes.
No, I don't.
No, but the kids at the.
Not only that, they have breakfast there too.
You
Yeah.
see, that's another thing too that adds to the cost. Why do they have to serve breakfast?
They do because someone decided that was a good idea. You know, Head Start.
In the schools, the kids get a free lunch and a free breakfast. Everybody.
Not everybody.
Everybody
No,
gets it.
supposedly everybody now.
Everybody gets
Did
it.
they do that?
Everybody
I
gets
thought it was. I thought it was mean tested. No longer.
No, not means
You taught
tested.
school.
No, I did. I mean, some place it was means tested, but I think
Right.
now it's pretty much
No,
available.
in Lynn, it's, you get
That's
it-
not a good thing.
No, it's not a good thing.
I think it is a good thing.
Before
Then it's
you
not, then
use
it's not
that,
mean tested?
Well,
I'm
you know,
saying
you
it's a
could, you
good
could
thing
debate that, but I think what you want to do is that kids are coming from all kinds of different situations now. And it's
And?
important that they get fed in the morning.
Yes.
And get fed at noon, at lunchtime, whenever lunch is.
Yeah.
Maybe we should
Sometimes
give
it's
up
like 10:30 in the
parenthood.
morning.
Oh, yeah.
Spoken
You know,
like
with
a
the schedule.
true liberal.
Yeah, well, but
but
I
what
mean,
I'm saying-
I'll tell you, the other thing too, North Shore Community College did a study a few years ago on their students. So these are kids that are going to college.
And paying.
At North Shore Community College and paying, but hunger is an issue for them and food is an issue for them.
You know, everybody gets at least food. If they're poor, they get food stamps. Why can't their mom make a nice bologna sandwich like my mother made it? You put it on a couple of pieces of white bread. You throw it. You throw it in with a devil dog. And you put it in a bag and you give it to me, and I go to school and I eat it.
Because people would say to you, that is not a nutritious meal.
It isn't.
it isn't.
breakfast of
Especially the
champions.
bologna.
Okay?
Let me give you a little story, folks. I don't know about any of you, but every once in a while I get a hankering for tuna fish. The only problem is, when I have a tuna fish sandwich, I have to have it with chips. You know, chips,
Yep.
tuna, chips. I can't do it. So I gave a kid a pass and asked him to go down to the cafeteria if he would to get me a bag of chips. And I was going to give him a little tip for doing it, right? It was a study period, folks, so it wasn't getting beat out of class. He came back and told me that they don't have chips in the cafeteria. I said, what?
And that's when you yelled at them.
I didn't yell at him. I
Gave
said,
it
what?
attention.
So I went down to the cafeteria and I inquired as why I couldn't get any chips at the cafeteria. Well, they're considered not nutritious, not
Right.
good.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to they're going to have celery sticks and they're going to have carrot sticks, but no.
That doesn't, those don't
So
go
take a
good with
look
the tuna
over.
fish sandwich.
You know, listen to what the offerings are. Cheeseburgers with French fries, okay, sloppy joes, and they're worried about a bag of chips.
I'm laughing,
So
but
we can
it's-
talk about the food, breakfast, and what the kids are entitled to, but it's what they're eating that's important. Now, most of these programs are put together because of the subsidies to the farmers and agriculture. You understand that, right? It's all surplus food.
Right.
And so we can argue 15 different ways to
That's
send
the
it.
That's why the Republicans back this, because they want the farm vote. Okay, that's what.
Well,
that's
there's
why
no
they do it.
sushi. I'll tell you that right now.
No.
There is no denying that there are kids when they leave their parents' home first thing in the morning, they haven't had anything to eat.
Yeah, I know.
And there's no denying that.
But
when
why
they-
not? But why?
Because they have no
Because-
money. It's very
Well, I mean,
simple.
yeah,
But everybody gets food stamps, Abel. They get food stamps.
It's not so simple.
It's not that kids from any community with any income level are leaving their houses and not eating breakfast. I mean,
My wife is a former school teacher. Used to be at the Light Street School. She had seen the kids came from fairly well-to-do homes, a few of them. The parents wouldn't give them a breakfast. They would give them money. Take this and get something at the 7-Eleven store on the way into school.
Well, that's poor.
And then what they do is they take that money and they go out and get candy.
Yeah, well,
That's not a nutritious breakfast.
It's, the safe way to go, this is why I'm going to become a liberal.
please,
Is-
don't do that to me.
He's
I
like,
thank you.
here's what
I
Republicans
think-
become. Mitt Romney over here. Yeah, Mitt Romney.
Let's talk reasonably. No kid should go to school hungry.
Exactly.
But their
You don't
mother
disagree
should
with
feed
that?
them.
Of course not.
That doesn't make you a right-wing wacko
Hell
or
no.
a left-wing wacko, does it?
But it's just such a sad situation because no one gets it. You spend all these thousands, millions of dollars on feeding kids breakfast. That's not the right way to do it. You got to educate the parents.
Yeah. I have 5 kids. Every one of my 5 kids, my wife would make sure they had a good, hearty breakfast before they left the house to go to school.
We couldn't leave the house unless you said,
Yeah.
what did you eat?
Yeah, that's the way my wife would say, did you finish your breakfast?
That's
not
an
everybody-
intact family, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, we have too many families that aren't intact today,
Exactly.
and that hurts.
Amen.
And you have too many women today that have to work. It's not a question of choice. When I was raising my family, my wife didn't have to work. It wasn't, that wasn't, there was
My,
no
my,
need.
my mother worked most of the time, and I still got my bologna sandwich every day.
Well, good for you.
And look what you turned out
Who
to
the
be.
hell eats a bologna sandwich for breakfast?
Not for breakfast, for the lunch.
Oh,
No, it's
okay.
not bad if you
I had
try
White
it.
bread,
cornflakes,
Wonder bread on
cornflakes.
top of it. You know what I mean?
Here's what you do. You take
They would
the box
advertise,
of
helps
cornflakes
build
and pour it in,
bodies
you put the
12
milk in.
ways, but they wouldn't go with
What is so hard about
Wonder
that?
bread.
You take the bowl, you take the cornflakes, you put the milk in. That's breakfast. What's the problem?
We're learning a lot tonight.
I had you over
Joe.
light with, no.
Okay.
Sadly, folks, you're not, if we have an emergency here, forget it. Because the emergency room at Lynn Hospital, as of November 3rd, is no more. That's just around election time, by the way, right?
Right.
Yep.
The election is the, what, the 5th, I think, I don't know. So, on the 4th, however, the emergency room will be converted into an urgent care center until May, when that medical village is
Yep.
open, right? Now, 80%, I never knew this, 80% of Lynn's ambulance transports are diverted to Salem Hospital. I ask you, Avram, why do you think that's the case?
Because they're the only people who can provide.
You know, you are pretty bright.
But hear me out. I told you the people who were at Union Hospital that were running it, they lost their shirt. Because 90% of the people that would come in for an emergency are illegal. They have no health insurance.
That's why Lynn Hospital is no longer, or Union
Exactly.
Hospital, frankly. They shut down the maternity ward many years ago. No one was born in Lynn because they couldn't collect money for the maternity
But I
ward.
still haven't got an answer to my little stupid question.
Which is?
If Lynn Classical had an extra 200 students in September,
English.
excuse me, where did you put them?
They're thinking of, that's a good question.
Sure. it's-
They're actually talking about portable, and they're up against it. They're talking
Portable
about,
classrooms,
they
yeah.
want to build new schools, which they're attempting to build a new Pickering that's in the pipe, what?
And where's the
5-year
money
out?
going to come from that?
But that's the issue.
Oh, that's the issue.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, well, you know,
Okay.
here's the real problem. If you're picking up minimum of 3 to a high of 700 students per year, so you're talking about an increase of 15,000 per head, of anywhere from a low of 3 million to a high of close to 10 million, added onto your budget. That makes it impossible for you to do any capital improvements.
Yeah.
Because you're fighting every
I
year.
was talking to a guy at O'Sullivan's. I have to tell you, it was Thursday. His wife is an
the new
English
city
as a second
council.
language teacher, and she goes to, I believe, 3 different schools. She roams 3 different schools. She said he told me his wife told him just this week 22 new students just showed up.
Okay, Ralph.
Showed
okay,
up.
Okay, I'll buy that. 22
Right.
times 15,000.
No, it doesn't cost. No, I know, but
Yes, it does.
The problem
Ralph,
is
yes,
being
it does. Get it through your head. Every new student that comes in is an extra 15 grand.
where's that money coming from?
The taxpayer.
It comes through what is
Sir,
called deficit spending.
Right.
Deficit spending. It's what's bankrupting the city, Ralph. You understand that?
I understand
So
that's
you
bankrupt.
can't seem to understand that when a new student comes in, it costs 15 grand.
It's only the incremental cost of new buildings or maybe new teachers that's where the extra money
No,
will come in.
really.
no, you're
Otherwise,
wrong.
they throw another chair.
The first
wrong.
day,
But Joe, one of the things you mentioned about, like for Lynn schools and other urban areas, is that being able to have the money for the capital improvements on an ongoing basis. Obviously, they have a line item for that, but nowhere near what they need to have
Exactly.
to really maintain the number of schools that they have and the high needs schools that they have. They're old buildings and so on, especially all these old elementaries, Cobbett you mentioned, and so on. So, that's something that's been ongoing for years, and it's tough to deal with.
Haven't you ever seen that they build a new highway? It takes 5 years to build a highway. About the time they finish the highway's no good because it's
Right.
totally obsolete.
I think we have a phone call,
No,
Joe.
we
I
don't.
think.
I
No,
know
we don't.
if we
Oh,
did,
no?
yeah. If we did, I'd know. 781, in fact, 781-780-9460 is our number here. Give us a call. and-
Ben is on the phone.
Who is?
Ben is on
Oh,
the
Ben,
phone.
I'm sorry, I couldn't see it. See, that's why I need you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Eyes. Sorry about that, Ben, how are you?
Good. How you doing? Good, Joe. Good. My point is, it costs $15,000 a year for each student. In the city of Lynn, we let the people in, as you want. You call them undocumented, you call them illegal. Well, you know, California, they let all these people in, and it's a sanctuary city, and they don't get punished for it or nothing like that. They just let it in. They ignore the federal government. Well, why should Lynn have to do what the state says? Why don't we just ignore them? Oh, because they're going to hold the money? Well, the president tried to hold it from California, from the sanctuary cities, and the court stopped them. Bring it to a conservative court and let's stop it so that the state of Mass can't do it for Lynn and throw the people out that shouldn't be here.
Ben, thank you. Finally, someone heard what Lapidus had to say.
Go ahead.
A lot of it was basically jumble. The thing is with California, they always mention California being a sanctuary state, this and that. California is nothing but a dump.
Now,
Yes, because they're taking in all these illegals. The entire state is turned into a tent city.
Lynn is a welcoming city and has been for better than a century. The reason why my parents came here is because they were welcome to come here. My siblings who came from the old country were
But they
educated
came in
as
here
Lynn
through the
English.
legal channels.
My point being is that Lynn has done a marvelous job over the time, taking in all various ethnic groups from wherever in the world and acclimating them and allowing them to become productive citizens. Listen, my father went to the 3rd grade. Do we have someone online?
I think we have another
Paul,
one.
how are you, Paul? If we can lift up...
I'm doing pretty good, guys. You know, you guys are jumping all over the place tonight. You know, you go from one thing to another to another. We're on the hospital thing, we're on this thing, we're on that thing. Stay on one thing so we can understand you, will you? First of all, we got Union Hospital closing up. Partners has changed their mind 350 times when they're going to close this hospital. The counselors are saying the other night, you know what? What are we going to do now? We got no ambulances for Ward 1. We got this. We don't have this. Well, it's their fault that we don't have this because they dropped the ball on this. Number 2, take the fire station on Winfield Street and tell partners to go back over here and win and have a little sit-down with us and fund our fire station for 2 years as repayment for taking our hospital away. Okay, and we can open up the Winfield station, put 2 ambulances in there 24/7, and Ward 1 won't have a problem having ambulances to go to the hospital.
Paul,
And when the ambulance place is empty, you just rotate the ambulances.
Paul, I want you to listen because this is someone else's idea, not mine. I think Councilor Lodge Field mentioned that it's probably easier to get people to Leahy Clinic and Peabody. Is that accurate? Are you still there, Paul?
Well, yes, I am. You're right about that. Councilor Field said, let's take the patients to Peabody, right? Well, Peabody Leahy Clinic isn't partners. All their doctors and everything from Union Hospital and Wynn Hospital, that's where they operate out of. They don't operate out of Leahy. So you're going to have to change doctors in this. You're going to have to do everything else just to get to a hospital faster. You got to change your doctor. No, we're not going to do that. Tell Dr. Councilor Fields, do his homework, get partners back here and tell them to stop dropping the damn ball and get a little you-know-what between their legs and tell these people from partners it's about time you do something for the city of Lynn and the people of the city of Lynn and stop dodging the bullet. Good night, guys.
Yeah, it is a very serious problem. But of course, in an emergency, Leahy would be okay because it doesn't make any difference with your doctors if you're having a heart attack.
And this is the last point I want to make on closing. And he's right, we are all over the place, but
We
there's
are.
a lot. Lynn is the largest city in the state. This is not something we want to brag about. Largest city in the state
Is it
without
really?
an emergency room.
Without
Oh, okay.
Without an emergency. Hey, look at Lynn, and we got to go quickly because time's a wasting. But our number here is 781-780-9460. We'll try to stay on the topic. Look at Lynn. Notice Gliss T. Here's what's happened. Apparently, the MBTA's Fiscal Management and Control Board decided it's not going to renew the contract for the ride with Gliss for 2020. They've got 3 providers, and it's split 50-30-20. I don't know who the 3 providers are, or vendors, but you're not going to be without a ride. It's going to be restructured. And that's a $95 million contract. I didn't realize that.
Right.
Yeah.
They
And Bliss-
brought in some English company, I believe, and they got rid
There's
of
three
Bliss.
companies involved.
Yeah, but I think there's two others that were there anyway, and that they brought in a new company that's an English company, I believe, that may or
There
may
is
not.
a man from England.
It's going back to politics.
Yeah, well, I always go back that way.
Whatever, but the thing of
but-
it is that the MBTA is in such financial disarray.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
But that's a separate budget item, I think. But all these union workers, the Teamster workers, I'm surprised they're not up in arms that they might lose their
Well,
jobs.
there's 250 that are affected.
Right, 250 workers, union
They're
workers.
trying to get that they simply switch over to the new vendor.
Well, what if the new vendor doesn't want them? They don't have to take
That's
them.
true.
They don't have to take
That's
them.
true.
And a lot has to do with cost because I think they make about $35,000 a year, I believe. That's what I heard.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying they're probably going to hire somebody for about $20,000 a year, and the union workers are going to lose.
Who are they going to hire? They have to hire people from the local area, don't they? I mean, why would anybody from?
But they don't have to hire a union. They can hire me. I can go.
Guess so. Would you?
For $20,000, I wouldn't do it for $20,000 though.
How
Not
about
unless
30?
they threw in a bologna sandwich.
Bologna sandwich, then you might have me.
And a bag of chips.
That's true. But I wasn't going to go to his school for a bag of
But
chips.
as far as the residents of Lynn, Nahant, Swampscott, Linfield, is Saugus part of Bliss? I'm not sure.
I believe so.
It is?
Yeah, I believe
Well,
it is.
This is Greater Lynn.
Yeah, it is,
They're
as a
going
matter of
to
fact.
have a ride. It's just not going to be in conjunction and
We
partnership.
hope the new company that's coming in is as good, because
Well, if they're not going to
Well,
get their
I know.
contract.
The fact of the matter is, if you call up and you make a reservation to come to take you to a certain place, are they going to show up on time? Is it, you know,
right.
what's
That's the
going to be?
problem. Yeah, right.
Yeah, as
I
a
want to
matter of-
make one last point, because we already did part of it, and then we can just have a
A free for
free-for-all,
all.
yeah. Lynn Tech Annex was renamed after Al Malagriffa, and you're familiar with Al. He was a
Yeah,
guy, and
yeah.
they call him Mr. Lynn Tech, and a Lynn Tech legend. Played a little basketball, a little football in his own right.
Yeah, I don't go for that far back, but I know who he is. Yeah, and he's
Well,
a longtime
I'll-
director at
I'll
Lynn
give you a
Tech,
true
yeah.
story.
Yeah.
After I was unceremoniously dumped from the Lynn City Council, I
By
ended
the
up at
voters.
Tech.
By the voters.
By the voters, yeah. I ended up at Lynn Tech, and he was the assistant director at the time. And in those days, we used to take on the student basketball team, you
Yeah.
know, and that was like
And what?
at basketball. And so Malagriffa, who's a lot older than I, he didn't realize that it's pretty tough to play against these young kids.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he tried to play as if he was still a young kid. And lo and behold, his leg went smash. And I shouldn't be giggling, but he was so intent. He broke his leg. And
That is kind of funny.
and I don't know whether he suspended the student or not, but they had some pretty good ball players, by the way. I mean, they could shot. 781-780-9460. Billy, what's coming up this
That's a
weekend?
great story, Joe.
About the broken leg?
Yeah, I mean,
And the
yeah,
chips.
Yeah.
And the chips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's coming up this weekend?
Yeah.
Oh, let's see here. Like I mentioned, Classical's playing at Revere, but our website, we have Gloucester Peabody football game, and then Swampscott trying to
Big Blue?
rebound. The Big Blue beat Salem last week, but they're in Beverly, and Beverly is the team that beat
Well,
English
what
last
are you
week.
going to be announcing?
I'm going to be at the Beverly Swampscott game on Saturday.
So that's a good game.
Yeah.
And we have a Swampscott audience here, so you folks from
Absolutely,
Swampscott,
yeah.
the Big Blues, rebounding. That was still a hell of a game, that
Yeah, it was
33-30 game.
Yeah, they know they made a bunch of mistakes that game. They're looking to
That's usually what
different
happens,
showing,
mistakes,
yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
By the way, what is the NFL game tonight? Anybody know? I don't know. Who's
I
playing?
don't
You
know.
know, Billy?
I don't know. Yeah.
So it goes to show you what happens,
We've
How
all,
much
some
time
of
do
us
we
have
have here?
all been big football fans. We don't even know
You
who's
know,
playing
getting
tonight.
back
we have
to
5 minutes, go
State
ahead.
of football.
when Paul calls on the phone, he's very concerned about this city. He's lived here his whole, obviously.
He's very passionate, and he happens to be right
Yeah.
about most of all, seriously.
Do you know seriously what he was talking about? Union Hospital. We talk about maybe people think we talk about it lightly. You know, people could die because there's no hospital here. You
But
know
this
that.
city is
I
a
know
huge
that.
city. This city has a mayor. It's unheard of to have a city that large that does not have a hospital.
Doesn't have an emergency room. Forget about a hospital.
Well, that's unreal.
It's the emergency.
I
room.
always used to tease
With the
people.
situation with my wife, she is. He had mentioned about an ambulance service. I live in Ward 1, and yes, we do have an ambulance service. It's called Cataldo Ambulance Service, and I've been paying through the nose to have my wife conveyed a number of times, and each one of the Cataldo runs is a minimum $1,650.
That high?
Oh,
Yes,
God,
it is.
Wow.
I thought it was like in the six.
No, 1,600. I got one yesterday for a conveyance back to Salem Hospital. $1,850.
20 years ago, for my mom to go from Boston Hospital to a care center was $1,000 20 years ago. Right.
It's
That's a racket.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
That's a racket.
yeah.
I mean, that's unconscionable.
And the thing is when they were bringing my wife to Salem Hospital, and when she got to the emergency at Salem Hospital, because of Lynn folding, they have people out in the corridors.
Yes.
It's,
That's one of the
it's
complaints.
almost like a Korean triage.
Yeah, try going up Highland Avenue.
Right, absolutely.
I've always been concerned about that. I have no idea, and the only thing I can say, you want to talk about snobbery? I think that it's in Salem because it caters to Swampscott and Marblehead. That's what I honestly believe. It's more difficult for people from Swampscott, Marblehead, the more affluent areas, to get to Union and Lynn Hospital, or they don't want it, than to Salem. And I firmly believe that.
I can guarantee you, because I know that is absolutely the truth.
Do you know why this happened, by the way? Does anybody know why that they actually got rid of the hospital? I know the reason.
They're not making enough money.
No, the reason is Obamacare. When Obama put Obamacare in, they took $1 billion out of Medicare, and Partners was afraid that they weren't going to get enough money from Medicare because there would be cuts all over the place because of that $1 billion. And when they had, I'm telling you something, up at the council, I remember that time when I was watching it here on this station. They asked the CEO of Partners, why, very simple question, why are you moving? And his answer was, the government.
Yeah.
And what he meant was Medicare and Obamacare.
At the
People
same
won't believe
time,
it, and that's the reason why.
At the same time, the majority of the people who came in through the door had no health insurance and were illegals. That's what
You
really.
cannot deny, in this country, no one can be denied health care. That's, service.
Right.
Be provided.
What you cannot be denied. You
Cannot be denied.
No, you can't, no.
They can skirt the issue, but what you cannot be denied is if you walk into a hospital emergency room and you don't have a dime to your name, nothing, they cannot tell you to leave.
Right.
That's right.
Federal law. Law.
So it's it's
So
subsidized
it's the
by
ones that
everybody
have
else.
insurance and the ones that are paying that are making up the difference.
So actually, access to health care is not the issue. It's insurance,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I've been getting insurance bills from my wife. One of them, a major
Do you
one,
have to
is
pay
from
the full
Partner.
amount? Or is it
no,
offset by insurance?
Thank God you don't.
Medicare and United Healthcare Preferred paying most of it. I still have deductibles.
Yeah, I understand that.
Part of her last bill that she got from Partners was for the surgery that she had, and they charged just to use the operating room $38,000.
And the thing of it is, that's what Donald Trump was trying to push, that they screwed him on that too. He wanted someone to go into a hospital and say, how much is this going to cost
I
me?
looked at that bill and I was totally stunned.
Until after you never
another
know
one-
until after you get the bill.
Another item
Right?
on her bill was for the pharmacy, which is for the drugs. $10,500.
It's scary.
Yeah.
So none of this is within the realm. We should do a show strictly on this type of subject.
Right.
Because I'm looking at this table here, all of us take a few pills.
I told you my bill, how much it was for
Not me, I
my
don't
cancer
take anything.
operation, $53,000. $53,000.
Well, so far, my wife's medical bills are closing in on $250,000.
Well, the reality is that most of the cost of health care comes at end of life, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So, and that's telling us, is that telling us this is the end of show?
End of life, yeah.
It's saying
Wow.
wrap
End
it
of a
up.
bologna
We're going to
sandwich.
try to keep less subjects next week, more focused.
Yeah,
Right.
and let me just say one thing. This Sunday night starts the Jewish New Year. It's the year 5,780. We're the oldest people in the world. even the Chinese come in second place. I want to wish every single person who hears this a very healthy, happy year. No trouble should come anybody to anybody.
Happy
Okay?
New Year, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Okay.